find a tale about the hiding out of the city, the leaving the city specifically. At the time, I only considered it exhaustion. I had completed my master's program at the Actor Studio and was exhausted. Why was I exhausted? Well, that part of the story I was exceptionally clear on at the time. I had changed my concentration in a 3-year program from being an actor. That's how I was accepted to the program, and loved the first year. Had a wonderful first year. That was really eye-opening. I made a lot of progress. But it felt as though I had a lot more experience of actual professional acting jobs and performing in general than most of the fellow students. And so it seemed to me, after an easy year that was terrific, that maybe I needed to challenge myself more, and I switched to the directing program, which was partly also because we had a small number of directors. I believe there were 8 to start in our year in a class of 60. And we lost, maybe we had 6. We were down to 3. We didn't know we were down to 3 at the point that I made my decision to switch to directing. And my decision was mostly about, if I'm going to be here and spending this money and spending this time and investing this energy, then I should try to get the most out of it. I should try to learn things that I don't already have familiarity with, and that is what led to that decision. But we lost, there were only 4 of us left. So if there were 8, then we lost 5 in a year. And if there were 6, then we lost 3 in a year, and I stepped in. And those 4 of us were responsible for directing all of the thesis projects for everybody else. The writers, of which there were a dozen, and the actors, of which there were 40, maybe. And there was a limited amount of time and space in the theater, the Circle and the Square, where we did our performances, our thesis season. So each of us directors was responsible for shepherding 10 of the actors' pieces through the season, and there was a lot of work. There was a lot of work to it. And so that was exhausting, but what really exhausted me emotionally, and this is what I had so much clarity about at the time, was I felt that my experience out in the real world entitled me to have some authority in speaking to my actors. And they didn't want to hear it. They did not want to hear it. Because, in their defense, the way this program works is it requires you to dig into yourself, to find your emotional history, your memory, and use that to evoke responses that are natural responses while you're saying somebody else's words. That is method acting. And all of these kids who came to it brand new didn't have any of that experience. So this was the very first time in the pool for 90% of them, certainly 75% of them. And a year in, that's still a process that is being explored. They were all brand new. They were brand new. They were trying to figure out how to get value out of this instrument. And there are moments when you undertake that kind of work, sense memory work, in particular, it evokes so much, and you are able to, relatively early on, if you're prepared to let go, to have some great experiences of freedom in your expression. And it's exhilarating. And so these students, these classmates, were thrilled with newfound abilities from this training. And I guess I was a little attached to the paradigm of working professionally, which has certain deadlines and requirements. And And that's what I thought my role was for these kids. I didn't really think, I wasn't really ready to take the role of shaping them, right? Of being a director, truly in the sense of holding their emotionality in my hands and both keeping them safe, because that's super important, while also putting their gifts themselves into the service of a script by a particular deadline, making sure that the audience could hear them because they were speaking loudly enough. And so I should have some gentleness for myself, because I was new too. But that is why I got the hell out of the city.